Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining. We have a lot to talk about this morning, but before we get started, let's welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome Corbin, AJ, Keisha, Hunter, Raphael, Jamie, Spacelane, Alex. Keisha said, already hit the like button because this will be good as always. Thank you so much, Keisha. Welcome, Vicky, Gabriel. Thank you guys so much for joining. So far this morning, the jobless data was better than expected. The market is up a little bit. We also have ChargePoint stock up in pre-market. They had earnings after the bell yesterday. If we take a look at CHPT, they're lingering right around that $24 level, and they closed at like $21.20 yesterday. Overall, they have a ton of momentum. They look pretty good. You could expect to also watch BLNK from this move. We also have CHWY down pretty big in after hours. They reported earnings and then they missed their expectations. And then Tom, I think you're muted.
Oh, yeah, those earnings ended up being pretty bad for them yesterday, though, and that really sent Chewy to the downside. I mean, I was not expecting to see a move like this yesterday out of them whenever the market closed, because I was kind of expecting them to go up given the online industry and everything that Chewy's in right now. And I will say, though, the chart was kind of looking like it was kind of turning to the downside. So it doesn't surprise me too much. But, man, those earnings went pretty south.
Yeah, I mean, what it could be is like a buying opportunity for the long term, but either way, I think they're a solid company. They just didn't have the best quarter, but also welcome Jorge, Santiago, David, Joel, Angelica, and Jay. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream today, and the other Alex. But yeah, I mean, I'm really watching CHPT this morning. They're really running up, and I've really been watching this one for the past couple months, and I know you have been too, Tom. CHPT, BLNK will move in a pretty similar way, and it's good to see this type of momentum out of this stock, because it's just been lingering around that support for what seems like forever now.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're finally pulling away from that support too. Like the support's right around 20 to 21. We're going to be opening today all the way up around $24. So that's going to be a great little gap up there for CHPT. And I'm glad that we're finally getting off that level. Like I said, we've been down there for a long time now. And we've had lots of bounces off of these levels too. And it's just been looking like a really good opportunity lately. And I'm glad to see it kind of playing out the way that we expected. But one thing that is kind of weird today is that I know we talked about the jobless claims, but man, I'm seeing a lot of weird stuff where lots of stuff's going on actually, like with Apple and then some of these other stuff. Like Apple's going to be letting apps like on their users like make certain payments and stuff like that. And Apple's been really like lingering around these all-time highs, and it looks like they might be heading back up there to retest those this morning on this news. And look at this, it opened. This is actually running pretty good.
We shall see. So we have Joel saying DraftKings, DraftKings, DraftKings. Let's take a look. So, it's just been like holding its ground for like the past week or so now. Do you have like any major levels on this, Tom? Like I know 60 will be pretty big.
60 will be pretty big, and it looks like another level close to 60 is going to be $60.50. And today we're actually opening right around $60.50. And I hope that we can stay up here with DraftKings, especially with that type of movement that we had yesterday. And it looks like right now we are catching some green here at open. So hopefully it keeps going up. I'd like to see DraftKings get a nice turn back up, because as of right now, it's not looking too good at open. But, hopefully in 15 minutes it looks a little bit better. It's always volatile here right at the very beginning.
I mean, Tom, check out the SPY. It looks like we're about to break all-time highs today.
Yeah, it actually does. That all-time high is up there right around like 453.50, somewhere really close. And man, we're really close to it actually. Looks like we might be getting some resistance right there, but I would expect a nice move up. We've been moving well on these SMAs today. We're seeing Apple even go back up, and it's just like we're seeing all these big stocks still rising with the market.
Good stuff. And then we have Jay saying, any thoughts on Netflix? So I'm very glad you brought this one up, because I'm really thinking about selling some call credits on it. It had a crazy run up, and I'm really, really considering selling some call credit spreads on Netflix. Probably not puts. I'm most likely to do a call credit spread, something like that. I feel like these options are getting pretty overpriced, especially some of these far out of the money calls.
Yeah, Netflix just broke out, and it looks like we might be running up to somewhere around like 600. So that would be a pretty good level there, a good psychological level too. And even if we broke 600 to the upside, I feel like within the next couple of weeks, we'll see some big downward moves. kind of like what we saw with Apple. Apple went up, broke their all-time high, and then consolidated here for a few weeks. And I could see something similar going on with that stock.
And then while we're talking about Netflix, like I instantly thought of like Disney and Disney Plus, and they're even doing pretty good right now. They're trending up pretty well. It's like almost like a nice slow and steady uptrend. And ever since they released that news of that potential like sports betting deal, it's just been trending very well.
Yeah, it has. And, I think a lot of people have been looking at that deal with DraftKings. And who was the other guy in the deal? Caesars, right?
Yep, Caesars.
Yeah, Caesars and DraftKings. And I really am looking at that deal as well. And I think a lot of people are kind of anticipating that Disney will get that. Because, I mean, Disney's had some good moves this week heading up into that possible deal. Looks like CZR has just been consolidating with some red candles going on. It hasn't looked nearly as strong as Disney. I know they're two totally different companies, but it's just whenever you're looking at the strength heading into the event, you would think maybe Disney, somebody knows something and is buying Disney up.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, like, when we see a stock move like Disney is, it just shows that there's more buyers than sellers right now. And, regardless of, this deal with DraftKings or Caesars, I really like Disney for the long term. They're a solid company. They had a great run up on earnings, but they just gave all their gains away. But either way, I'm a big fan of Disney for the long term. We have Spacely mentioning Didi, D-I-D-I. I know this stock was under a lot of pressure lately. It is a China stock. It's really just not a play for me. And, even if you do play it, you have to be so careful because those options are pretty expensive.
Yeah, and even the shares, like they're really low price. And if we get a little drop down to levels of just a few days ago, you're talking about a 13% drop on the shares alone. So that's a pretty big move. And, DD, like Mike said, is going to be risky, but I think there is a high reward potential here. If they do end up going up, it'll be awesome for you. But the main thing is that it's just a China stock. There's going to be huge risk behind it. And I would say it's more of a trade where I would just day trade it or something like that if I saw momentum rather than hold it for the longer term or anything, just because the China stocks now are just really worrying me for long-term holds. Now, I think it'll be okay for a shorter-term play, though.
Good stuff. And then, so Maine said that, good morning, guys. I got COVID positive. So we're sorry to hear that. Thanks for joining the stream, and very sorry to hear that. Let us know if you need anything. And then Alex said, can you look at ZS for long-term shares or leaps? So let's take a look. ZS, I mean, it's looking pretty solid, Tom. I mean, this run up over like the past couple months, it's just been exploding up. Like, I mean, this is like a solid chart setup. One thing to keep in mind is they have earnings very soon on September 9th. And, earnings are always super risky. Generally speaking, like I feel recently we've been seeing more selling pressure from earnings than buying pressure, but I don't think you can go wrong with like shares for the long term.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You are buying up here at the top, which sucks for shares, but hey, it's not the worst. And the stock will, it can keep going for sure. You can see in the past, sometimes whenever they ran, they just kept running up. So I could see it happening. And I'll be honest, those earnings are going to probably have a pretty big effect on the stock. So definitely look at those on September 9th. I think that'll be definitely the way to go with ZS. I've heard of this company a lot over the past few years, and hey, I'm glad they're running up like this. I'd rather buy in a little bit lower, but I still think it's a good entry point.
Alrighty. And we have Jorge saying MMAT is lifting off. Yeah, it is really popping off. I know it's up like 10% now, and it's having a pretty like really good bounce from that lows. What do you think?
Yeah, MMAT has been awesome, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any levels on it or anything like that?
It looks like we're passing above $5 right now. I think that's definitely going to be a pretty big one. But look at these 1 minute candles. I mean, they're pretty big, to be honest. Like we ran it from open at 480 all the way up to above $5. But looking here on the daily chart, yeah, I would say $5 will be pretty big today. That was a resistance in the past, and you would think that would hold up as support now. And we're actually sitting right on that on the 1 minute. So hopefully we can bounce off of this, or it's going to be pretty hard, I think, for this stock to keep going today because, they've been running a lot. But the thing is that resistance at 5 might be too strong if we can't stay above it.
Alrighty. And then we have then we have Iranical saying thoughts on ABBV. So I know that they got absolutely demolished yesterday. They're like a nice, slow and steady stock for the long term. I like them, and they're also like a dividend stock, so I would definitely consider scooping them up. But I'd like to pick them up closer to like 100 or so.
Yeah, I think that would be a better level to get them at too. And they just had that big drop down just a couple days ago. And look at all that volume that came in on the drop. I would think that we could go down to maybe somewhere around 100 over the next like few weeks to few months. And the main thing is that look at this, we're actually posting lower highs on ABBV, and we hit off that 120 resistance and went straight down. So I think we could definitely be going down for the next couple weeks.
Good stuff. And then we have, it looks like Moderna is one of the top stocks from this morning. They're running up with a lot of momentum. They're up like 3% today, and they are now back above that $300 or that $400 resistance.
Yeah, they actually are. That's a big move, Mike. And that's a big candle coming in right now over the past few minutes. Like, wow, look at these 2 1 minute candles that are 2 5 minute candles. I mean, that's a huge recovery back to the upside here. And I hope that we can break out above 404.72 or 405. That's actually a pretty big resistance up there. And, we are pretty far away from there now. So it could be a pretty good play.
Good stuff. And then it looks like Facebook is actually selling off this morning. So we have the SPY going for all-time highs, and we have Facebook tanking off. I even checked, Apple's doing fine, but Facebook's definitely selling off. It looks like they broke below that 380 support, and now they're retesting that 378 level.
Yeah, that's a really weird move to see actually with Facebook today, Mike. And I was kind of expecting to see them keep running, especially after they broke that level yesterday and kind of held their levels there like in after hours. I thought it was going to be a pretty good move, but hey, sometimes stocks go down like this, and it's weird to see it going down, like you said, with all the other stocks in the market rising. And that was a pretty bad drop at open. It's not just like like a couple red candles and a big recovery back up or anything. Like this is continuing down.
Yep. And then we have Joel just saying Bank of America death. How's Bank of America looking, Tom?
It's looking great. Our puts aren't moving too much, but Bank of America really flew down. I mean, I actually have it open. Oh, sorry. I actually have it open on a different screen too. But yeah, look at this. It's flying down this morning. It is starting to pull itself back up right now. But man, these moves down so far today have been pretty drastic.
Yeah. So I know that you're holding those puts, which is great to see. And just like bank stocks in general have been struggling a little bit, especially Wells Fargo. Like they've just done so bad over the past week, and IV exploded the other day, so it's definitely looking pretty rough. And then we have A saying, hope some of y'all got in on my JMIA call out last week. I'm holding through. Let's take a look. JMIA. Yeah, I mean, it's been trending up slowly over the past week. Good stuff. And then Mason goes, stocked up, baby. Let's go. So let's see. So far this morning, we have the SPY going for all-time highs, which is great to see. It looks like we're very close to breaking them. We have Facebook selling off a little bit of selling pressure with some of the bank stocks. Moderna's trying to run up. CHPT was trying to run up, but now it's selling off a little bit. It's giving up a lot of its gains from pre-market. I mean, let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, it's really coming down now, actually. Look at that big move. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we see this happen with earnings, though, Mike, where it'll fly up in after hours like this, and then at open the next day, it'll just give up all those gains. And I've seen stocks like this even end up turning red. So, like, it could end up going either way, I think, even though those earnings ended up going pretty good for them.
We shall see. And then we have W asking about Tesla. So Tesla is unchanged today. Like overall, it's been on a nice uptrend for like the past couple weeks to months. It's looking good. Like it's still above that like 700 resistance level, which is now support. It's looking good overall. It just doesn't have like nowhere near the amount of momentum as a lot of other stocks. You'll notice that last year everyone was talking about Tesla, but now there's just it seems like a lot of the hype has shifted to, maybe BBIG or AMC or, even DraftKings or Corsair or NEO. So Tesla, it just doesn't have that momentum that it had last year. Speaking of AMC, it looks like they're down a 1% or so. And then W was also asking about BBIG. So let's take a look. BBIG, oh, they're getting smacked.
Yeah, they're getting smacked pretty bad, down 5%. But the thing is that they're not really down that much comparative to their movement on the chart. So I could see them moving a lot more than this today, just given, how much they usually move. Like yesterday at open, I know that this was right at open, but within the first 30 minutes yesterday, they rose 50% on the stock. So don't be surprised. I'm sure we'll see some bigger numbers today, like plus plus or minus like 10% plus probably. And these stocks are definitely getting there though. We have AMC really falling off the table at open today, and it's actually falling below that low of yesterday too. And it's just not looking good for these stocks over the past few days, Mike. And it was looking so strong for a few days. Like we were finally going to see all these meme stocks recover back up, but then we just saw that sell-off happen again right after we all got our hopes up.
All right, so we just broke all-time highs in the SPY, Tom. Looks good. SPY has right now an all-time high of $453.79. So great stuff there. Max said, I remember when you guys used to do the live day trades. Definitely love the live stream now that I'm joining regularly. Keep up the good work, Mike and Tom, and hit the like button, everyone. So thank you so much for that, Mac. And then we have Vicky asking about Chewy's resistance and support for a day trade. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Chewy, like, let's go ahead and look at it. But I personally wouldn't play it with the way it moved with earnings. But, it's going to be really hard to say for today. I would say a good support might be right here at around $80. I think that'll be a good level if we end up coming down here in the short term. If we break 80, then I look at 78.25. But as far as like upper resistance, Chewy fell down quite a bit. I don't really see much resistance all the way up to like $86. But let me go back on like the 180-day 4-hour chart and see if we can find anything kind of in between there. And yeah, I would say somewhere right around like 83.50 or 84 could be another resistance too.
Good stuff. And then we have G saying, morning, missed last week due to not feeling so good. What's been going on in the market in crypto / NFTs seem to be popping. Like, yeah, I know Ethereum has just been exploding and like literally it's just been exploding. Bitcoin's been doing pretty well too. Trying to think, you didn't really miss too much. There haven't been like any major catalysts in the market. SPY broke all-time highs, but besides that, there were a couple hype stocks like SPRT running up, but that's basically it. And then we have Mason asking about SPRT. So this one, in my opinion, it's just like a ticking time bomb. It reminds me so much of the setup NEGG. Let's take a look at it on a daily chart. We can see NEGG had some explosive movement to the upside. It went from like $10 to $80. Crazy movement. That was awesome. And then it just like slowly faded off, right? Slowly faded off. And SPRT has a very similar setup. And Tom even got us a comparison for us. So perfect job. We can see that the setups look very similar. Explosive movement and then just slow fade off. So in my opinion, SPRT is going to do something very similar to that.
Yeah, I could see it and look at it. It's actually like right on like the brink of doing it now. Even if we get a couple green days, there were a couple green days mixed in for NEGG on the way down. So don't be too surprised. We have seen like 3 or 4 red candles in a row now. So just don't be surprised if we see a little green candle like we saw sometimes here. But just don't, I would not hop into the upside necessarily just because you're seeing a little green candle is what I'm trying to say. I would still look at it more to the downside.
Yep, and what's scary about this one is that SPRT still has an implied volatility of like 330%. So like even if you want to short the stock, like right now, let's say you bought like the $27.50 put, right, for September 10th, which is a very close expiration. It'll cost you around $700. So your break-even price isn't even until $20. So if you shorted it now, like that's a long way to go. So just be careful even with buying any options. Like call credit spreads would probably be the way to go. Maybe even a put debit. And then we have Sean saying, hoping the SPY can fall here. Let's take a look. It's breaking those all-time highs. It's hard to say. I know September is statistically one of the worst months for the market, but we're definitely off to a good start.
Yeah, and what was the ticker? Sorry, I'm actually updating a position really fast.
No problem. Just talking about the SPY basically breaking all-time highs.
Yeah, it's a great thing to see. I'm glad to see it. We keep seeing the thing that I hate to see is whenever we see the SPY go up and it'll break all-time highs, and then we'll just have like a big move back to the downside. And then we'll consolidate for a few weeks. I'd rather have it like this, where we're finally just running and we just get these solid momentous days like in a row. Like we'll get a couple of good green days, and I think that's a good way to play it, and we're finally breaking out. And it's just looking pretty good for the SPY. I'm glad to see it at 454. And the main thing though is that I know a lot of people have been kind of waiting for the market to come down, and it's almost impossible to time it like we keep saying, but definitely eye it up. I think that it can come down over the next like month to 2 months. It's just I think at some point we just have to have some big catalyst or something like that has to come out for us.
All right, the next one we have AR, Tom. Let's take a look at AR really quickly. AJ said thoughts on AR. So AR, I'll just cover this one, Tom. It's up like 2.5%. It's looking pretty good overall. We're getting close to that resistance right around $15.50. So watch for a break above that. But, just generally speaking, it's on like a nice, slow and steady uptrend. We're getting close to breaking out. And even if we look, like, the only problem I have with this one really is like the long-term chart is just brutal. Like it's on an awesome uptrend for, the past year or so. But, the long-term chart is literally brutal. Like basically every year they're making lower lows. So I definitely would not hold it for the long term. But, it's not bad for like a short-term trade.
Still on AR, right?
Yep, still on AR.
Yeah, they're actually coming up pretty well in the short term. Like, what do you think about that big resistance at like 15, like 30?
I mean, like, if it can break above that, like, I think it definitely has potential for, like, a shorter-term trade. But, like, just check out that, like, max daily or max weekly. Like, in my opinion, it just, like, looks terrible. Like, you see how it's just, like a giant downtrend.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was looking at just, like, the past year. It doesn't look too bad over the past year, but you're right. That long-term chart looks terrible.
All right. And then we have, let's see. And then we have Vicky saying support and resistance on you for a day trade. So what are you thinking?
Unity doesn't look too bad, but let's go check it out for the levels. I will say the max weekly looks great. The max daily looks great as well. But as far as these intraday levels here, on the 15-minute, there's definitely going to be a pretty big support down here around 128. I think that's going to be the main level to look for. And for a level to the upside, I got to get on the 1 hour chart here to kind of find it. And it's going to take me, it's hanging out in a second. Let's see. It's going to take a second to kind of find this resistance here at the top. But it's looking like a solid resistance is right around 136 to 140. There's definitely a lot of movement between there. But it hit 136 before, and it's hit 140 multiple other times. So that's where I would look at. And then, like I said, a good upper level or a good support today could be like 128. I think that'll be a good like good support. But the main thing with Unity right now is it's really breaking out in the short term. And I think it looks pretty solid for a quick day trade or a quick buy or, something quick to the upside because it just broke out of like 128 this morning.
All right. And then we have Gabriel saying NIO with the Rockets. Tom, it's booming.
Wow, it really is. Look at NIO flying up there to 40.41. That's a great break of that $40 resistance that we've been, kind of talking about the past few days too. And, they had that terrible news yesterday come out in pre-market, and I thought NIO was done when that news came out, Mike. Look at how drastically they fell down here on the 1 minute chart, fell from 39.50 all the way down to the 37 support. And then it opened, they recovered all the way back up, and they reported slowdowns because of chip delays and stuff like that, just like we saw Ford and Tesla do yesterday as well. And man, it's just, I was really expecting to see them go down, but I'm really happy that they're going up. And hey, I'll take the pleasant surprise here with NIO.
You know it. And then we have Michael saying, what do you think of coin stock right now? Let's take a look. COIN. I mean, crypto definitely helps it out. I know like Bitcoin, Ethereum are really popping off. So I like it. It's not it's not my favorite stock in the world, but I like it. It's just like a longer term play.
Yeah, and I really like it personally. I was loving it a lot down here around like 210 to 220. I was thinking it was a great time for shares at those lower levels, and I'm really glad to see it moving up like this. And I'll be honest, I think I could see Coinbase going above 300 over the next few months, especially with the way Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything's moving. It's just everything's trending in the right direction right now. Even the overall market, we have the SPY even trending in the right direction too. It's just it seems like overall, like not just our markets, but like the crypto market and everything right now is booming.
Good stuff. And then we have Keisha saying, took profit on the 50 contracts I had in UPS. last week and bought back in with OCT expiration and doubled down. Let's go UPS. So good stuff. I mean, it's popping off pretty awesome. So love to hear that, Keisha. Great job. And then Jorge said, can you address Workhorse after yesterday's drop, please? Absolutely. So Workhorse was looking so good, Tom. You know, they had that short squeeze hype going. They were running up. They were breaking that resistance. And then they just tanked out of nowhere. And basically what happened is the SEC is investigating them. And that is not good news. And, you know, they just tanked off really hard. It brought a lot of panic into the stock. And it's just looking pretty rough right now. And, you know, it's like an SEC investigation is definitely not a good catalyst by any means.
Yeah, that's definitely bad for Donkey Horse. And man, I really hope that it can get itself back up though. I mean, it's we've been definitely talking about it a lot. I feel like it's still a decent, you know, stock for the longer term, even though it's just an investigation. I feel like that they could still end up going up over the next like few weeks to few months. It's going to be really hard to say. That brought a lot of negative momentum in, and you know, it really like I should say, like we were saying, you know, we saw so much upwards movement that whenever this happened, it really dampened everybody's moods. And, you know, I feel like we finally just broke out to new highs with Workhorse. We hit 1059, and I'm sure lots of people were buying in right there. And then 5 minutes later, we just had a huge like 2-point move to the downside. I'm sure that turned a lot of people off to the stock.
Yep. And then we have Hunter saying STNE all the way back down to the $45.50 support. Wonder if it'll finally turn around. I remember when it went straight up for months. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember this one. I mean, this looks like a terrible reversal. Yeah, it looks pretty rough.
UPST, right?
No, STNE.
Oh, STNE. Sorry, I sounded similar. Yeah, STNE does look pretty good here, I'd say, for like a pickup for the long term, Mike. I mean, we are down by the longer term support here of like 44 to 45. I don't know. It's gonna be hard. It's hard. It's kind of like buying BABA at the lows right now.
Alrighty. Also, FIVE is getting destroyed. Looks like they had earnings, but they're getting smacked right now. They're down like 10%.
Yeah, that's a really bad move by Five Below. But hey, the thing is that Five Below was one of those stocks, Mike, that moved out to all-time highs. And I'll tell you what, this reminds me exactly of DKS right now, Mike. And DKS is getting up there just like that stock was. I ended up gapping back down. But man, look at this. This is a pretty good move up by DKS here. And I would expect the same thing to happen.
Tom, can you hear me? Looks like your connection is cutting out again. Let me know if you could hear me, Tom.
Happen as what is it cutting out today? Because
yeah,
most stuff's running good.
Yeah, you're cutting out again, unfortunately.
Now it came up. Yep.
Oh.
Now it came up and said it's unstable again, but hopefully it gets better. Well, like I was saying though, DKS had a nice gap up, and I would expect DKS to kind of fill that gap again, kind of like the previous stock, Mike. Do you remember the ticker?
Yeah, FIVE. FIVE. Looks like Tom cut out again. Not good. Let's see. Come on, Tom. I know the internet's brutal. Let's see. FIVE, if you could hear me. I'm sorry for these connection issues, guys. I know that Tom's internet has been not good over like the past couple days especially. So we're definitely trying to fix it out. So we apologize for this. Let's see. Tom, let me know if you could hear me.
Yeah, Five Below. That's right. So yeah.
Yeah, and then Keisha said, is Tom's internet acting up because of Hurricane Ida? I mean, I wouldn't think so. I mean, he's in Missouri, but I don't know what the problem is. Like, I know, I have no idea, but it's been brutal over the past week. So maybe there's some weird connection with it. I'm not sure.
All right, hey, I think I'm all good now, Mike.
All right, here we go. Tom, so FIVE, you were talking about that one.
Yeah, can you hear me all good?
Yep.
All right, yeah, FIVE, I mean, it really had that move back to the downside after consolidating there, and I feel like DKS could have the same move. And, FIVE came back down and kind of filled their gap back down to where they were consolidating at. And I would think that DKS might have a chance to come back down and fill that gap over the next couple of weeks as well. Now they are running on that great earnings that they had, but I would think that they would come back and consolidate at some point.
Alrighty. And then we have, let's see. Okay, so we have Legacy saying, what are your thoughts on some 277 calls for FedEx? Let's take a look. 277 FDX. I mean, it'd be nicer if you could get closer to the money, but it's not bad. I really recommend getting closer to the money because that's like $10 out of the money. If you do go that far out, just make sure to have some time. FDX.
Yep, FedEx is actually looking pretty bad in the short term, Mike. I mean, it's hard to say. I would say shares right now for the long term could be a good way to go, but they are about to have those earnings come out. And the thing is that their earnings have been pretty good lately. Like they've been posting some pretty good numbers. So hopefully it makes them keep going up, but it's just going to be hard to continue this growth that they've had because ever since COVID happened, like FedEx, UPS, and some of those others have just been running to all-time highs.
Alrighty. And then we have, we have Hunter saying we have lost our beloved Tommy. Praying for Tom from Williamson. So yeah, sorry about this crappy internet connection, guys. I don't know what's going on over the past week. It's just been horrible. So thank you guys so much for dealing with that. And let's see. So right now I'm going to do a quick scan on the market. Looks like ExxonMobil's popping up a little bit. Some of these weekly calls are up like 300% on the day with ExxonMobil. UPST is continuing to run. Wow, Tom, check out UPST.
Yeah, UPST is doing really great, actually, running up to 236.50, and this is a really good move out of UPST. I was actually looking at them earlier, and, lots of people were looking at UPST and really looking at them to the downside, and it's really breaking up through this 225 level, and what a great move today, up 9 to almost 10 points on the day.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, UPST looks solid, and then also look at Palantir. They're doing very well.
Yeah, PLTR. I haven't really seen this one too much today, but they broke that high, that double top there around like 26.50. And hey, that's a nice move. Palantir is looking like on the daily, like they're finally breaking out of that range that we were talking about for where they consolidated for a few weeks there.
Good stuff. And then we also have, let's see. Yeah, NEO's still trending pretty well.
Yeah, NEO is looking pretty good, actually. NIO is not a bad stock by any means. And hey, they've been running up today. And like we kind of talked about a few minutes ago, they had that crazy news come out yesterday. And I would have never expected a move like this again today.
Yeah, all right. And then we have Corbin saying, how does GLD look for a few-day swing to the upside? The dollar is looking bearish. So let's take a look. GLD, I think it's looking pretty decent. What do you think?
I think it looks good too. It's been running up pretty well. We're at 170, and I wish we would have bought it at support around 160, but hey, 170 is not too bad right now. I would think right now we're right in the middle of a range, I should say. There's a bottom level at 160 and an upper level at 180, and right now we're at the middle of the range at like 170, and I think that we will end up heading up towards the top of the range at 180 at some point or another here over the next few months, especially with the nice bounces off supports down there.
Good stuff. So, the main thing I'm watching right now is Palantir. They're trending very well, and, they're up like 1.7%. But here's the thing. When we look at Palantir, we're seeing a very similar setup to like what we saw in like May and June. Like they went on like literally like a month-long uptrend, and it looks like we're seeing like the same exact thing right now. So let's say we break above this $27.50 resistance, like, I can definitely see it continuing up maybe to like 29 or so.
Yeah, I think I could see that too. And if it really breaks this resistance, it'll have, like you said, a pretty clear shot all the way up to like 29 to 30, somewhere right around there. And like I said, I think it'll be a pretty safe shot up too. Like there won't be too much, in between there. Now, keep in mind, it's only like 1 or 2 points of a move, but that 1 or 2 points can be pretty big for those options.
Oh, big time. They can be huge. And I think the best way to go with Palantir is, either shares or leaps. Because these options are pretty cheap right now, actually. Like the IV is really low. Just, you really want to make sure you have time, because I know that even though Palantir options are cheap, that doesn't always mean that they're quality options. Like if you go to like the September 17th chain, like you can pick up like a 30 strike call right now for only like $18. However, you only have like a 10% chance of winning. So, like the big thing with it is like there's a lot of opportunity with these Palantir options. You just have to make sure you're buying quality ones, preferably in the money.
Yeah, I think that'll be the good way too. In the money's always the way to go. And I would say like with Palantir, something like the 25s wouldn't be too bad if you can afford them.
All right. And then how's Corsair doing? I know it had so much hype earlier in the week.
It did. And, it had some hype again today. Like over the past 20 minutes, it's been recovering up nicely. But at open today, it fell below support, which was terrible. But hey, this recovery looks pretty nice so far. So maybe we'll be able to come back up a little. But there is that big resistance up there around 30 that, we're pretty far away from. So I think we'll have to work our way up towards that.
All right. And then what are you thinking about this Netflix action?
NFLX, I mean, man, it's just been running up to all-time highs, or is it all-time highs?
Yep,
yeah, it's been all-time highs, and it looks like 600 might be a big level there for us, Mike. I think that might be a big psychological level for everyone.
I mean, it's booming, Tom. There's quite a bit of momentum, and I think that some of these calls are a little bit overpriced, so I might have to get some call credit spreads pretty soon.
Yeah, especially at 600 or somewhere close. Like, man, it's not a bad time for sure, and we've been seeing a lot of stocks like this, like Netflix, Apple, DKS. I mean, man, there's lots of good opportunities with stocks that are pretty overextended right now, and they might continue up for, another week or two, but at some point they will fall down.
Good stuff. So yeah, definitely watching that one. And then we're even starting to see VIAC pop off. They've just been literally stuck in the mud for months.
Oh, what was the ticker? I think I cut out again.
VIAC.
Oh, VIAC. I know that's your favorite, Mike. You've been
no, it's not my favorite.
Not your favorite, but I will say you've said it a lot over the past few months, but definitely consolidating here. And hey, if it bounces off this 40 support again, I mean, now what is this? The 10th bounce now? Like, man, hopefully we get a nice bounce up here.
Yeah. I mean, Neo's still doing good. I don't know if you saw that one. Like, it's up almost 3.5% today alone.
Yeah, they're looking great, actually. Look at that movement. They're really surprising me, Mike. I would have never expected that after that terrible news, like with the chip shortages and them delaying everything. Like, wow, I'm glad to see it, though. Like, the buyers really came in, and I don't know, like, what kind of software bought this dip up or if Kathy did this or what, but man, that NIO dip was bought up very fast. And hey, I'm glad to see it. The Max Daily looks great, and we're finally breaking out of that lower range, and we're breaking out above $40. And I think that we'll finally get a little bit of a move, maybe back up to the middle of this range, maybe at like 43 or 44 over the next few days. I think it looks like a pretty good trade.
No, we have Hunter saying, don't assign favorites, Tom. Come on, man.
Oh, okay, Hunter. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, VIAC, it's not too bad, though. I'm just doing a quick scan of everything. It looks like, generally speaking, we have some green stocks today. Definitely more green than red. Whether it be Neo up now over 3.5%, Palantir with some nice action, DraftKings, UPS. Like, we're seeing a lot of green movement today, which is always a great thing to see, especially out of Neo. And then we have Williamson saying UPST. It's really booming up there, and it's breaking all-time highs, and it has a lot of momentum.
Yeah, UPST does look pretty nice, and it's been really moving. A lot of people were looking at it off that 225 level to the downside, and I cannot believe it had this big momentous run today. And I'll be honest, I don't see it continuing much higher, though. Like, I would definitely look at it start to come down in the short term.
Yep, I can see it. And then how's Plug looking?
Plug, now this is one I would buy up right now for shares. Look at them on the Max Daily, really running up another 2% today. And they had nice green movement for the past like 10 days in a row. There were a couple red days mixed in there, but that's pretty much straight up movement from that 23 support. Looking really good, actually. And man, it's just it's been really running up, and I would expect a nice test of $30 soon.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a lot of people are looking at Neo, especially. It's up like almost, I mean, we're getting close to 4%, Tom. I know we talked about it a million times, but, it's a pretty awesome move. And, like, I'm still having a hard time believing that recovery from yesterday at open.
Yeah, that's a really good recovery. I cannot believe we're still up 3.6%. It's still just breaking highs throughout the day and just keeps going. Like, I wonder where we're going to end up today. Maybe somewhere around 41. But yeah, I mean that news yesterday was terrible. Let me kind of go back here on Thinkorswim, and I'll kind of like reread out the news that Neo was posting yesterday. But let's kind of see. So we were seeing a lot of stuff yesterday with LI, Neo, Tesla, and Ford. They all reported chip shortages. Let's see. It says right here, NIO stock is down 4.7% in pre-market as they're going to be actually having a lot of delivery problems. Yep, it looks like they're having delivery issues right now, and they're falling short of their deliveries. Like, for example, they only delivered 5,800 vehicles, and they were expected to have about 8,000. And it's just been some pretty bad numbers for them. You know, like overall, we've been looking for big growth, but that has not been coming because of these delays. But overall, I mean, that drop didn't really make a big difference for the stock at all. You know, it just got bought right back up. And honestly, that news it pretty much got thrown in the trash. Investors just bought up the dip.
All right. And then we have Vicky saying Starlink is only available to very few. Still in test phase. I hope it will be available soon to all of us. Yeah, I mean, when it is available, Tom's going to have to try it out.
Man, I'll tell you what, I pay so much for my internet, and look at my internet company stock. Like, they're big, and I have the most expensive internet that you can buy here. So it's definitely like, I know it's my internet, but it's not like, it's not my fault. We'll just say that.
All righty. And then we have Jorge saying LCID is also coming up from the pits of hell. Jeez, let's take a look. LCID, yeah, they are popping up pretty well. They're up like around 4%, so that's good to see. So many people got it was just a crazy move yesterday with that share lockup period expiring. And then we have James bringing up Plug and SPWR. So, yeah, I know we just talked about Plug. It's looking really good. SPWR, very similar setup, up like 2.5%, and it also looks really good. So, a good call out there, James. And then Jorge also mentioned Clover breaking out. What do you think about Clover?
Yeah, Clover's looking pretty good. CLOV moving up well. And I personally, it's not my favorite stock, but hey, as long as it's bouncing off the 8 support and it goes up, it'll be a pretty good play. It's just not my favorite, but to me, it's more of like a hype/meme stock. And it goes up generally more when those stocks go up. I wonder how AMC and them are doing. So they're going down today. But like I said, Clover's looking good off that $8 support at least.
Good stuff. So yeah, I mean, that is that. Let's do another check-in on the market real quick. SPY looks like we're pulling back a little bit. You know, looks like we broke those all-time highs, and you know, I know technically we're still up on the day, which is good with the SPY, but definitely pulling back a little bit. So yeah, what are you watching, Tom? Like, what stocks are on your radar?
My favorite ones right now are kind of like GLD. I mean, it's not moving a lot right now, but it's my favorite, like for the next few weeks, maybe up to like $180. I think that'll be a pretty good way to play the market, maybe, especially like with the SPY at all-time highs. I think it might get pretty dicey to keep trying to play the SPY to the upside. Like we can see today it opened, the SPY had a pretty nice move up, but then, you know, now it's just moving right back down. And I would just expect like maybe GLD is a better one to swing for the next few days. But overall, I mean, I really like CHPT, BLNK, and those types of stocks off these lower levels. And I'm really glad that CHPT had earnings today. And because, you know, the main thing is that I've been looking to grab leaps and stuff on CHPT, but I just didn't want to grab anything right before earnings because, you know, you never know how they're going to go. So now I'm glad the earnings happen and we'll finally be able to look at like some good plays on them over the next few weeks.
Good stuff. And then we have Jorge saying ASTR testing $10. That's good. Yeah, ASTR is kind of holding its ground. I know it sold off big time this week. We have Mac saying bullish on Coin and SKLZ for the few weeks for sure. So that's good. SKLZ and Coin. Tom, can you pull up the charts on these ones real quick?
SKLZ looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, so it's lingering right around those lower levels. I know it had a ton of hype. And then Coin, how's that one looking?
I like Coin a little better personally. I think Coin looks like it could really start to come up. I mean, there's not too much data because of the way it IPO'd and fell down, but I mean, honestly, the daily looks great, Mike. It's starting to really come up, and I would expect a nice retest of like 297 soon.
All right, and then QS also just popped up on my radar. Looks like they're kind of popping off too.
Yeah, QuantumScape. This is actually looking really good, Mike. Up to 23.11, and wow, what a great move they've had it open. It's just been straight up. There's been almost no red candles mixed in either, and they're right on support on the daily too, right around 20 bucks.
Yeah, so like I think they're decent for like a quick trade, but I do not like this company for the long term as of right now. I know we did like a video on them almost a year ago now, like I don't know, maybe like 9 months ago, and like they just had a ridiculous valuation, and at the time it was not a good situation. So I'm not a fan of them for the long term as of right now.
Yeah, me either. I mean, it's not my favorite. I think it looks decent off support, though. That's the only thing I would really go off of with this one. I don't think I would buy this one for shares or anything for the long term. Too much. I would just do more of like a weak swing at most or something like that. But the thing is that it bounces pretty big sometimes. So if you can catch it right, it could be good. It's not my favorite either.
All right, we have Main and Info mentioning SPCE, so it's starting to recover a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks pretty good off this bottom support of like 25, 24.50. Looks pretty decent. And it's been really holding its ground down here. I would think that we might be able to get a nice pop back to the upside. And you know what? I'm kind of glad because SPCE was doing pretty well. And then they had that $500 million share offering, sent the stock straight to the downside. And now that we're bouncing off support again, it doesn't look terrible. So I honestly think for shares right now, it's not the worst time to start to average in.
All right. So I'm just doing another scan. Palantir is doing really good. It looks like they are breaking their high of day right now.
Yeah, they are actually. I mean, that's a really good thing with Palantir to see, and they've been really running. I mean, up 2.2%. That the 5 minute looks really great, and just like you said, they broke that high of day from earlier this morning, just a few minutes ago. And I don't know where I could see it running to, but I would definitely target like $27.
Alrighty. I like Palantir, and I know that we're already holding calls on it for a while now, and I might turn it into a diagonal pretty soon to get that weekly income flowing from that original leap. And then we have Joel saying, check SENS. Good support at $3. FDA approval, hopefully before the end of the year. Lots of short interest. So let's take a look. He said SENS. I mean, it's trending pretty well. I just want to check the short interest on this one real quick. Give me 1 second. So SENS, it looks like the short float is like 22%. So yeah, it definitely has potential to squeeze.
Yeah, it does. And this is actually a pretty nice move up through $4. And I would think it could move up, especially if they get that FDA approval. Could you imagine like an FDA approval that might make the stock fly up in after hours or something? If everyone starts cutting their shorts right there, I mean, you're talking about a pretty good move, if they do end up having that approval. So hopefully it ends up happening. But keep in mind, a lot of these shorts buy these companies because a lot of times they don't get that approval. And whenever they don't, those stocks fall a lot. So just be a little careful with it. I know those approvals are pretty hard to play.
All right. DraftKings is kind of popping up. I know Joel brought it up earlier in the stream, but I like the way it's moving. Hopefully today we break above that $61.50 resistance because yesterday it got rejected.
I think it looks like we will, Mike. I actually drew a little bit of like a wedge play here on DraftKings, and you can kind of see how it's in a very slight wedge play right now, and it is kind of breaking out of this to the upside, and I like it as long as we can break out above like that high of, I would say, on like August 27th, I think that was Friday, maybe the high of like 61.80, like right there would be right where I would target. If we break out of that, I'll go bullish on DraftKings. But I'll be honest, I love the setup right now. I think it looks like we could end up going up for, maybe the rest of the day today even.
All right, and then we have Legacy saying, I've heard a lot of talk around VIH. I'm guessing people want to short squeeze it. Yeah, I just checked the short float, and it's like 45%, which is very, very high. And, if a lot of buyers start to flow in, there definitely is potential for a squeeze.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you're talking about VIAC, right?
VIH.
VIH?
Yep.
I actually never heard of this one. VPC Impact Acquisition. That looks like their intraday movement's crazy, but that daily chart looks, yeah, personally, I don't think I'd play it myself. It reminds me of like, it reminds me of one of those, like, I would say like one of those hype stocks that just kind of died off. So it's just To me, it's not my favorite, but hey, it is right. It is around support, which is good.
Alrighty, so SPRT is getting rejected. I don't know if you saw this one, but it's looking pretty rough.
It really is. I mean, these moves down are terrible, Mike. I mean, look at this down. Yeah, I mean, this is just not looking good. It's not below the low of yesterday yet, but today it opened. It's just been moving down, and it's making like the new low of well, it's about to make the new lows of days right now.
All right. And then I know we had some talk in Discord about GSAT. This one's like up 16% or so. This might actually be another one to keep an eye on. I just want to check the short float real quick, but it's trending very well. Like I said, up 16%. The short float's not crazy, but it's still high, right around like 9%.
Yeah, do you remember the news that made them fly up yesterday?
Hold on. Hold on. I
I'm
had it
going
pulled
through
up.
my news looking for it.
Let's see. I know that
Oh, they got a possible Apple deal, is what it was.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
what it was. I knew there was a big catalyst, but I mean, wow, what a big move today after those big consolidation days there.
for sure. And then speaking of like Apple deal, like I know AFRM had a huge deal with Amazon, and they're just kind of like lingering around like $100 right now. They have earnings very soon, so I was actually thinking about like selling some puts on this one.
Yeah, and was the deal confirmed with AFRM, or is it just like kind of like a rumor still?
No, it's a done deal.
Done deal. Wow, that's good to see then. And hey, that's probably why they, obviously shot up from 66 to 103, but that's a great move. I mean, I'm glad to see it with AFRM, and AFRM's daily looks pretty good to the upside. It almost reminds me of like SCR. SCR got bought up by Win, I think it was, or Penn, and then they ended up flying up pretty similar, had a huge gap up and they just kept flying. So maybe we'll see AFRM keep going too.
For sure. So that should be good. Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
I mean, still have my eyes on like the bigger EV stocks like BLNK or like the charging stocks. I think they look pretty good. They are coming down now intraday a little bit. You can see BLNK really pulling back here. There's a support coming up around 33. So maybe it'll give you guys a pretty good entry, a good entry point or something like that. But I'm eyeing those up. And then I'm also going to be eyeing up crude oil, which is having a great move today. We can see ExxonMobil actually has had a pretty solid move, up 3% from open, which is pretty good for a stock like them.
Alrighty, so and then the last couple questions we have, let's see, we have A asking about ANY. He said it's been on fire for a while. Let's take a look. ANY, yeah, it's definitely been booming up. It's up like 17%, so definitely looks good. And then we have Sean finally joining, and he goes, OXY, I have a similar setup. APA. So OXY, it is looking pretty good today, up like 5%. I mean, yeah, I think it looks pretty good right now. APA also looks pretty good. Very similar setup, and it just looks like the oil stocks are doing pretty well today.
Yeah, they are. I don't know what the news is, but one thing is that I heard that they were halting production because of the hurricane down in the Gulf, and that usually sends oil prices up. So I guess that's probably what's going on.
For sure. So thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. We have a lot of movement, especially out of stocks like Neo, Palantir, Spotify, even DraftKings today. So thank you guys so much for joining. We had a great time streaming, even though we had a couple technical difficulties. But again, thank you guys so much for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day.